One of the best management tools we have to manage wild turkeys is prescribed fire. Now, it's a broad topic and it's not a one-off type tool. There's a lot of different ways to use it, so let's dive right in. So what prescribed fire is essentially replicating Mother Nature's natural process of burning off the landscape. And so from a turkey standpoint, you have to think about that turkeys essentially live from our waist down, okay? And so having an open understory that has food, that has cover, but also offers visibility and maneuverability along the landscape is really important. And so what fire does is essentially resets the vegetation, in which it provides that vertical structure in the vegetation and the type of vegetation that's beneficial for the wild turkey. Now there's broadly two types of fire that you can implement on the landscape that are going to have different impacts. First of all, we have what's known as dormant season fire. Now this is done after the vegetation has gone dormant in the winter months before the spring green up. Now this is probably the most prevalent time in which man-made fires occur. These fires are going to essentially remove leaves, duff, debris from the understory and help to reset that vegetation and get new vegetation coming into an ecosystem whenever the spring green up comes about. Now when Mother Nature typically burned was in the growing season. Now that's when plants are growing, so that's going to be typically in the spring months into the summer and even early fall before you've had your frost. And so what this fire does is a lot of this vegetation, depending on when the timing of the fire is, things like sweet gum, yopon, gallberry, these invasive plants that come into a system like a pine system behind me, you can go in there and actually kill this vegetation because most of the nutrients for these plants are up in the plant is growing, and by implementing fire at that time of year, it actually has a killing effect on this.
In my opinion, it's probably the most essential tool for improving turkey habitat. But if you're able to run fire through your property, you can keep your habitat at what is called an early successional level. Turkeys like tall grasses. So think about, if you get down on your hands and knees and walk around, you want to be able to see some thick cover. If a turkey was to try to build a nest in a closed canopy hardwood forest where you can see 100 yards in all directions, a predator could also see that nest really easily. With the use of prescribed fire, you can set back the growth of plants and have this shorter vegetation that is much safer for a turkey hen to have a nest, and it's also much safer for the little poults that are running around because they can hide and they can not be seen. Prescribed fire also will burn back woody vegetation and it will resprout with very succulent green vegetation that can be eaten by turkeys and other critters. And so fire is hugely important. If you can do it, I highly recommend it in your area. So let's say you want to do some prescribed fire on your own, on your property that you have access to hunt. We all know what can happen if a fire gets out of hand. So you need to be frightened of it. You need to have a good bit of being scared of the fire. A little bit of paranoia goes a long way to keeping you safe in a fire situation. You also need to probably take a course or study up as much as you can before you begin. It's not something you just want to run out and do. You don't want to just go set the woods on fire. There can be repercussions for that. You own that smoke. And so if it's going to blow across a major highway that day, you probably don't need to light the fires. There's so many things you need to learn before you get involved with this so you can safely execute these fires.
You really need to have spent some time with someone who knows what they're doing, a licensed, trained professional at it, or someone who has a lot of experience at it. You just got to learn to know what weather conditions are right. There's a lot of variables. And the main thing is if the conditions aren't right, if you haven't done your prep and prepared fire lanes and considered I mean, consider every possibility and eliminate it before you do it. You know, there are some places it's really easy to burn. There are some places it's really risky. But the bottom line of it is, it's a super valuable tool to improve your place and improve the chance of nesting success of turkeys, quail, and other birds. And I highly recommend incorporating it into your place if you can. But I would start with someone who has experience, and especially someone trained and licensed, like your Forestry Commission.